Hey guys, this is Sports with Dylan. The Tennessee Titans have hired a new head coach, and also the Panthers hired a new GM. So today we are going to talk about both of those hirings. Kicking it off with the less interesting one, the Carolina Panthers hired Dan Morgan to be their new general manager. What does this mean? Not really anything. Dan Morgan was a former assistant GM under Scott Fitterer for the Carolina Panthers. Scott Fitterer was a very bad GM. So that makes me think maybe this isn't the best hiring, given that you hired someone that was an associate of the bad GM. But honestly, who really knows? Sometimes it's the GM making decisions, sometimes it can be the assistant, in which case, maybe he's alright? I guess we'll find out. Seems like a weird hire to me, think there could have been better ones, but honestly, I'm not going to criticize it much for a GM hiring, because I don't think GM hirings are that important. It turns out afterwards, normally you can find out how they are as a GM, but at first, you never really know. So, we'll just have to see how this works out. Hopefully, he's good. And now on to the more interesting one. The Tennessee Titans hired Bengals offensive coordinator Brian Callahan to be their new head coach. This one surprises me, but doesn't really. So, on the one hand, Brian Callahan deserves to be a head coach. He is the one that coached Joe Burrow into superstardom, Ja'Marr Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon. Do I need to go on about that offensive level? He deserves a head coaching role, no question. But this year? Really? Like the 1 year that the Bengals aren't as good as the past couple, and then he gets a head coaching role? That's what surprises me. I was surprised he didn't get one last year. So I didn't think he'd get one this year, given that the Bengals offense wasn't that great, especially when Joe Burrow was around. If the whole season was just Jake Browning, then maybe he would have deserved a head coaching job more. But Joe Burrow, just did not look like himself. Neither did T. Higgins. Ja'Marr Chase looked fine, so did Joe Mixon. But overall, that Bengals offense didn't look quite the same this year. However, Brian Callahan is still an amazing coach. Like I said, he's still the guy that coached this offense all the way to a Super Bowl. So I still do think he deserves a head coaching role somewhere. It makes sense. I was just surprised that this, of all years, was the year. But no question about it, Brian Callahan deserves this head coaching job, and I'm sure it's going to go wonderfully. The other thing I'm slightly confused about is I'm surprised it was the Titans. First of all, we are hearing a lot about the Panthers looking to hire Brian Callahan. And that one would have made sense, because they have a young, former first overall pick, just like Joe Burrow was, but now in Bryce Young. And they have actually not that much picks or young talent they can build around, aside from Bryce Young. But they can build this roster up with new GM Dan Morgan. Anyways, that was the biggest one. And there's a couple other teams with young quarterbacks. They want an offensive mastermind. And sure, the Titans sort of have that with Will Levis, and I'm sure that's where they're aiming. But on the other hand, they kind of strike me as a team that'd want to go for the defense. You see, I think the Titans would be better off building up a strong defense. I might be wrong, but I don't think Will Levis is going to be a superstar quarterback. I see him as like Kirk Cousins or Ryan Tannehill when he was a bit younger. And a couple of other of those guys. I don't think he's going to be an amazing quarterback, but I don't think he's going to be awful either. He's just going to be fine. So maybe they do want someone to develop him. Sure. But I assume they want a defensive coach overall to help coach and build this better defensive team, because the offense doesn't have that many pieces. Maybe Treylon Burks can break out, but Derrick Henry is going to leave in free agency. DeAndre Hopkins is probably going to get released. You're going to be building a completely new offense. And sure, they could make this great, but I just don't see it the same way. When you take a team like I was talking about, like the Panthers, who do have a lot more offensive potential with Bryce Young, I'd say, or a team with a high pick, such as the Commanders or the Patriots, who once again will be looking to build this new young quarterback. Well, Will Levis, I think, is pretty much already there, honestly. I think he's pretty much at his peak. As weird as it sounds after his rookie season, I think he might get a bit better, but I don't see him ever turning into a superstar quarterback. Now, I may be wrong. This could come to bite me in the butt. Treylon Burks could break out. Tyjae Spears could break out. They might draft a new receiver that will break out. And Will Levis could break out into a top 10 quarterback. And this could be an amazing offense under Brian Callahan. But, like I said, I still would have aimed for the defense if I were the Titans. But if you interview someone and you like them, then I can't blame you for hiring him as a head coach. So we'll have to see how all of this turns out. For now, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys again soon.